Hello, this is Gail Nettles with Beaded Jewelry Diva. Today's project is going to be this double herringbone bracelet made with Superduo beads. It's a wonderful bracelet both to make and to wear. I call it a double herringbone because I've got two sets of herringbones going across, and then I've got another set that almost looks like herringbone going side to side on the edges. It's a fun project. It uses those wonderful Superduo beads that you've got to get and then you can't figure out what to do with them. This is a project for you to go ahead and use your stash of Superduos. Let's go ahead and take a look at the supply list. You will need the following supplies for this project. You're going to need some beading thread. I happen to be using 1G thread. You can use the thread of your choice. You will need a beading needle. I happen to be using a size 11. A size 12 would also work nicely. You'll need two different colors of the Superduo beads. You'll need some size 11 seed beads. You will need some 4x7 Magatama seed beads. I highly recommend that you use either beeswax or a synthetic beeswax to go ahead and make your thread stickier, because this project is very difficult to get started unless you have some stickiness. I know because I've tried doing it without it. You will need a pair of scissors. Clasp of your choice. I happen to be using a magnetic tube clasp, and so I'm using that. I also need some jump rings, and then two different sets of pliers to put the jump rings onto the finished bracelet. Those are the supplies we'll need, so let's go ahead and get started with our project. Begin by threading on some thread into your needle and waxing it. Again, it's a whole lot easier if you wax it because this does get pretty slippery for this particular project. Leave yourself about a 6-inch tail, which you'll be using later on. I've gotten a really short length of string only because I want to make it easier for you to see while I'm demonstrating. So to begin, you are going to pick up Superduo beads in this particular pattern. A green, pink, and two size 11 seed beads, and then a pink and a green. Slide those to the end next to the stop bead. So this is what it looks like. What you're going to do now is take this end one. My thread is coming out of this bead, the bottom hole, so I'm going to go ahead and move my thread up through the top hole and tighten it up some. I know it looks like it's laying funny, but it won't lay funny for very long. Okay, I'm going to pick up a green bead and a pink bead. My thread is coming out of the top of this one, and I'm going to put it in to the top of this next pink one and draw it on through. So you have the start of a herringbone. Next, you're going to be taking one size 11 seed bead, and you're going to be putting it through this next pink one. I'm drawing it tight. So that's what it looks like right now. Pick up a pink and a green and put it through the top hole of this last green bead. Pull tight. And then go ahead and cinch up your work so your stop bead is up close. Okay, this is what it looks like to start. You may notice that I have only one bead in between these two, and I had two in here, and this is just to go ahead and spread out this end some, because otherwise this end ends up really narrow. So when it comes time to put on the clasp, it's a little bit harder to make it look even. So I have two beads here. So to start, or to go to the next one, what we're going to do is I'm flipping my work because it makes it a whole lot easier. And the work is flipping on me. Okay, there we go. So what I'm going to do is my thread is coming out of the top hole of this bottom bead, and I need to get to the top hole of this next bead. So what I'm going to do to get there is I'm going to string on 2 size 11s and then go ahead and put my needle up through the top hole of this next bead. Get my tail out of the way. So there, you see that I have my needle coming out of the top hole of this one, 2 size 11s, and then it's coming again out of the top hole of this one. So once again, I'm going to go ahead and put on a green, a pink, slide it through the top hole of this next pink, pull it tight, and yes, you're going to see a lot of thread in the beginning, and you're going to keep cinching up this stop bead and pulling the thread tighter, but don't worry about it right now. What you want to do next, since we've got our thread coming out of this bead right here, is to pick up a size 11 and you're going to bring it through the top hole of this bead. There, you see there's less thread showing now. So to finish up this one, we'll go ahead and string on a pink and a green and go through the top hole of this end green seed bead, or Superduo bead. Okay, and then if you need to, again, cinch up your stop bead. Okay, so we're back on this side. If you probably have guessed, I'm going to go ahead and put on 2 seed beads because I want to get up, the thread's coming out of here and I want the thread to come out of this bead. So 2 size 11s up through the top of this green one, and I just unthreaded my needle, so 1 second and I will be back with it threaded again. Now that I'm rethreaded, again I have my 2 size 11s. I'm going from the bottom of this bead to the top of this bead, or I should say the top hole of this bead, sorry, to the top hole of this bead. Pull the thread through, and again I'm going to put on a green and a pink, top hole of this pink, slide through, pick up another size 11, set it through the top hole of this next seed bead, or the next Superduo, and then we'll go ahead and repeat the pink and the green. Okay, and then let me get my tail out of the way. And this is what you have so far. Now what you're going to do at this point is you're going to go ahead and repeat this all the way until the bracelet is the length that you want it. So it's whatever is a good length for you minus the clasp, because remember you still got to put the clasp on. So let me go ahead and put on a new thread and finish up the rest of this bracelet, and I'll be back when it's time to put on the clasp and to embellish it. Okay, I finished the length that I wanted. So here we go. I am at the end, and this is what it looks like. I have not put on the 2 beads yet to go up to this one, so I'm going to go ahead and do that. Okay, now I've rethreaded my needle so that I have about 6 feet of thread left, and I'm doing that because I'm going to want to go around my bracelet a couple times, make a couple passes through. Okay, so it looks like this. I do have some thread showing here, so I'm just going to go ahead and pull things a little tighter. Okay. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to go ahead and put 4 seed beads that will go over between these two. So 1, 2, 3, 4. And I'm going to go into this next pink one. And so it makes a little arch like this. I'm not going to put on another seed bead. I'm just going to go straight into this next pink bead. Okay, so you see now there's an arch between these two. These two are drawn tight, and now I'm going to put on 4 more for another arch. 1, 2, 3, 4. So there's my second arch. And that's the way it looks so far. Okay, this is where I'm going to go ahead and end up attaching my clasp. So, where I am right now is I'm coming out of this particular top of this green seed bead, and I need to start getting down here so I can start adding the embellishments. So, what I'm going to do first is I'm going to go ahead and bridge the distance between here and these 2 seed beads with 2 more seed beads. And I'm not doing a lot of embellishments near the clasp area because I do want it to lie a little smoother near the clasp area. So let's see, actually I need 3 seed beads to do the distance. Okay. So that's what it looks like. It's going from the top of this green one, and then it's connecting with the first 2 that are on this side. Okay, so here comes the embellishment. Right now we have the thread coming out of the 2 seed beads, and we've got a gap between these next 2. Here's where the fun begins. Now we're going to take the Magatama beads, and these are the 4x7s, and they're kind of interesting because you see where the hole is on this side, and then there's a wide space down here, and then if you look on the other side, the hole is in not exactly the same place. From the side, you can see that one side dips lower than the other. We're going to use this to our advantage. So, now there's a specific way you need to thread on the Magatamas. You see how right now I have my bead slanting this way? So it's kind of slanting from bottom to top. I'm going ahead and putting on another seed bead, or a seed bead, and then I'm going to go ahead and put on another Magatama that's going to slant the opposite direction. And sometimes it takes a little doing to make sure you've got it right. Like right now I don't have it right. They're both slanting in the same direction. So I know I've got to take this one off, flip it, and then when I have them, they are in the opposite directions of each other. So they're fanning out. So I take these, and my thread is coming out of here. So I'm going to put my needle through this next set of 2 seed beads. Pull it up tight. And you've got almost what looks like another herringbone on the side. So now you know kind of why I call it a double herringbone. It's because you've got herringbone going this way, and you've also got kind of a herringbone look going this way. Okay, so next thing, again, we're going to pick up a Magatama. Make sure it is facing the right way. This one is not. And you're really going to have to play with these at first, especially, because it's not going to be real intuitive as to how to put them, where to put your needle in the hole. So you're just going to have to do it on the needle at first. See, facing the wrong direction. So there they face in opposite directions. So slide the Magatamas down. and put the needle up through these next 2 seed beads. And pull tight. So now this is what it looks like. We've got a herringbone look here and a herringbone look here, and we're separated by 2 seed beads. So you're going to do this through the rest, or down, all the way down this bracelet, and I will go ahead and do this and then catch you when it's time to put on this end of the clasp. Okay, I've gone ahead and done this entire side, and you'll notice it's kind of roughly when you do it, and that's okay. You don't want to pull this side real tight to straighten it out, because then this side will be way too curvy for this next set of steps. So go ahead, this side is going to be on the loose side. That's okay, because we'll tighten it up when we come around a second time, when we make our second pass. So right now I have my thread coming out of, there we go. I'm coming out of these 2 seed beads. This is my tail, and I've still got it because I'm going to end up weaving it in later and using it more for the clasp. So right now I'm just kind of taking it to the back of my work. I'm coming out of these 2 seed beads. I need to go ahead and add another 2, because what I want to do is I want to be coming out of the top of this green one. And then what I'm going to do is then pass through to the next pink one. And I know the tail might kind of get in your way a little bit, or at least it's getting in my way. Let's see. About getting it to the back. There we go. So what I have now is I have the 2 seed beads that I added, and then I have my thread going through the green one and the pink one. I'm going to pick up 5 seed beads. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go back around. I'm going to do a loop, and I'm going to come back through this green seed bead and then back through the pink again. Try not to split your thread when you come through if you're using something like 1G or any other non-monofilament thread. Okay, so you see I've got a loop. Next, I'm coming out of this top of this pink. I'm going to go through these 2 seed beads, through the next pink and the next green. Draw tight. And then I'm going to go ahead and repeat my loop. So I'm going to pick up 5, 2, 3, 4, 5, and I'm going to go ahead, get a loop. So I'm going to come out of the top of this one, and I'm going to go back through the pink and then through the green again. So cinch it up some, and you have 2 loops on this end. And once again, you're probably going to have to go ahead and pull on this a little bit to get this set of seed beads over here, a set of Superduos laying right. But I've got my 2 loops. Now what I'm going to do is I've got to go ahead and get the beads from here down to here. Okay? So I have my loops coming around. I'm going to pick up 4 seed beads, if they will cooperate, 4 seed beads, and I'm going to go the distance between this top bead or the top of this green where my thread is coming out of. I'm going to bridge the gap to these next 2. So there we go. Now I'm going to do the same thing on this side. I'm going to go ahead and take the Magatamas, and I'm going to slide them in just the way I did on this side. So let me go ahead and do that, and then I'll catch up with you again when I'm back at this end. Both sides, so you can see it's nice and roughly. I'm back up to the top, and this is where I made the first part of my clasp. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and come back through this clasp. I'm going to reinforce it because obviously we don't want to have the thread breaking on the clasp and losing the bracelet, and that's not a good thing. So I'm going to probably go through this maybe 2 or 3, even 3 times. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to come down this side and I'm going to go ahead through the entire length of the bracelet. I'm going to go from here through the end, reinforcing these loops a few times, and then come all the way back down. And during that process, I'm going to go ahead and start tying half-hitch knots. And that way, this is going to be a lot more secure, so if one bead breaks somewhere, I'm not going to lose the entire set of fringe. I've gone ahead and I've reinforced the clasp area a few times. Now I've come back down into the line of the Magatamas and the seed beads, and what I'm doing is I'm going through like 2 of the seed beads, 1 of the Magatamas, then I'm tying a half-hitch knot. So to tie a half-hitch, if you're not familiar with it, you go underneath the thread until you have a little loop forming. Then you put your needle through that loop and pull tight. Make sure that you're pulling where the thread was coming out, and then go ahead and go through the next 2 beads and pull it so that the knot ends up, coming through this hole so you don't see the knot. Then go ahead and go through a few more beads. I don't do it on every single one, but I'll go ahead and do it on every 2nd or 3rd. And then I do one more thing for my work as I'm going back through and tying it off. Let me go to this next Magatama and I'll show you what I'm doing. So I'm going through this one right here. Now what I'm doing is I'm going to go down through this seed bead, or this Superduo. Oh boy, it's not letting me. Okay, going down through it. And pulling it. So in essence, I'm just going ahead and anchoring this line back into the bracelet. So at this point, what I want to do is I want to come back kind of in a circle, and then I want to move back up. To come back in a circle, I'm just going to go ahead and come down through this next green. And then what I'm going to do is I'm coming out of the bottom of this one, and I want to go back through the top of the same bead. Now yes, we're going to have some thread showing here, but because it's on the interior, you're really not going to see that thread. See, you really don't see the thread. Now I'm coming back out of the top of the seed bead, so I'm going to go ahead and thread back through a Magatama just like I was doing it normally. So now I'm just going to go ahead and go down through the line. Every so often I'm going to go ahead and either do a half-hitch knot or work around into the work, and that just goes ahead and makes sure that, again, if one part of the string breaks, you're not going to lose everything. You're just going to lose a little tiny bit, but let's just make it so that it doesn't break. I'm going to go ahead, go around, I'm going to reinforce the whole thing. I'll probably even redo the clasp ends a little bit, and then we'll come back and actually put on the clasp. Time to go ahead and put on the clasp. I've gone ahead and I've got my clasp put together. It's a tube clasp, but I want to go ahead and leave it the way it should be, because it's going to make it a whole lot easier by the time I put it on. I won't have to worry about putting the wrong ends together, and that's always a pain to take apart. But I am grabbing one of my jump rings, which I've already opened. I go ahead and put the jump ring through the loop. I go ahead and put it through one of the rings of my clasp, one of the loops of the clasp. go ahead and close the jump ring. Now you might notice I have some white stuff on this particular pair of pliers. I have some Tool Magic on it to help prevent the pliers from slipping so much, because I am using sterling silver jump rings and I really don't want to scratch them up. Okay, I've got another jump ring, put it through the other loop, and then go ahead and put it through the loop on the clasp. And if it will cooperate with me, I will go ahead and close the jump ring. There we go. Now I'm going to go ahead and do the same thing on the opposite side and be back in a sec. Here it is with both of the loops in place, so we've got a clasp. And one other reason for using jump rings is if for some reason I made my bracelet too small by accident or too large, I can control the size a little bit with the size of the jump rings. I can use a smaller jump ring if I need something that's a little bit tighter in. I can use a larger jump ring if I need something that's a little bit longer. So that makes it kind of cool. So here we go. This is a wonderful bracelet to wear. It feels so neat to run through your fingers. So here's this example. I will show you another example, and this is kind of a semi-double herringbone. You can see that I've done the herringbone pretty much the same as I did on this bracelet, but instead of going ahead and putting the Magatama beads on the side, I just use size 6 seed beads. So that's a different look, and of course I have, at this point, I have a toggle clasp. Well, I hope you've enjoyed this project, the double herringbone bracelet, and I would love to see you at my site, www.beadedjewelrydiva.com. Don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel so you'll never miss a new video. Again, Gail Nettles, Beaded Jewelry Diva, and have yourself a wonderful beading day. Bye.